Just some thoughts on the Daniel Robinson case of where a possible search area could be, and also to talk about information that's not being given by the father or others. Daniel Robinson, the father, that as with all missing cases, they withhold information, important information, and he's struggling to find him out there in the desert, but certain information is being withheld. For instance, he found a sock, his sock, 3 miles away. Well, where was that sock? And how can they be sure it was his sock? Because there is no body. So they find a sock out in the desert, which is common, is very common in case, well, it's known why you find socks out in the desert. They're all over the place. That if, you're not equipped, you don't have toilet paper, whatever, that's why socks and stuff are found all over. It's a common joke among hikers. So with no body, how do they know that was his sock? And what direction was it? If it was here, now it was 3 miles away, so maybe that's here, well, that would show where he was working. But it could be over here, but they won't say. They won't say what areas have been searched or not. Okay, now this is from personal experience, and this is, since there's nothing else to go on, here's my idea as far as the search area. First of all, let me say, they find the truck, roughly in this area, but they didn't spot it. Well, that's common. First of all, look at where it is. It's 3 miles southwest of the work site. So they go to the work site where he was last seen. That also is not true. He was last seen by some people say he was a hunter. The next report says it was a federal agent. And yet nobody can trace it, and nobody is willing to say, well, where was it that you saw him? Now, the so-called hunter said that it was in Wagner Wash. That's what this is. Wagner Wash. So that's important where that person saw him. He was the last person to see him. It was not the work person. No, it was this mysterious person that can't be traced. And where was it that he saw him? Well, it was a Wagner Wash, we know that. Okay, so we have a relatively small area, and that in a period of roughly 4 hours from where the crash was registered on the black box of the truck, that shows that he was seen in Wagner Wash, the highway of the desert, the washers. You can drive up and down them, hike up and down them. So that shows that he was here in Wagner Wash, spotted by this mysterious person that spoke to him and said that he seemed coherent, whatever. Yet we're not allowed, searchers are not allowed to know where that spot was. So after he was in Wagner Wash, which the so-called hunter or federal agent said, that he ends up back here. So that shows that this was 4 hours later. And so that shows that he was relatively in this area and not driving 20 miles out into the desert. Okay, so now let's look at what can be ruled out. Okay, so he crashes his truck, takes off his clothes and his shoes. He had been acting strangely. The job wasn't turning out to be what he thought. He couldn't get any money out of them. He was disillusioned with his life, got rejected by that girl, whatever. Well, what's he going to do? Hike straight over to the highway? If he's saying to hell with it, I'm going to just walk out into the desert. Walk out into the highway or walk back to the work area, which right in here, there is a couple wells there if you zoom up. He's going to walk back to the work area or over to the highway or up into the mountains, crossing highways and roads the whole time. So this area, I feel, can be ruled out as far as odds. Okay, so where would he have gone? He has the wreck. Shit, now my vehicle is destroyed. I can't tip it over. Actually, I think he could have tipped that truck over if he would have wanted to. Takes off his clothes, takes off his shoes, says goodbye to everyone, and starts start walking out into the desert. Okay, I can tell you from experience, and it's almost impossible to control, that people tend to walk downhill. They oftentimes don't even know they're doing it. But if he went across here, walking sideways, in apparently his socks, that first of all you reach this canal. Now you could cross the canal, but he would have had to hit this spot and cross over. Otherwise this blocks off that whole area. And then he didn't go over towards the highway, and so he starts walking out into the desert, and you will tend to go downhill. You don't know you're doing it, but you do. Believe me, I've done it. That's why, like up on even Mount Hood, where people come down, they get lost, they find them down in the trees, out in the middle of no place, because they followed what's called the fall line. Like if you throw a bowling ball, that you tend to go downhill, not uphill. So you don't have 100 square miles out here where nobody has any idea where he was, that he wrecks the car. Okay, my life is over. My life is over. He says, fuck it. Gets out, takes off his clothes, his shoes, his clothes, even his jeans. However, it was the afternoon, night was approaching, and he had a sliver of a moon on that night. And also it had rained. So if he headed down here into this area, now here's the Our Lady of Solitude Monastery. He wasn't necessarily headed over there. He couldn't have seen it. The lights would have been blocked by this hill. Insofar as they didn't spot his Jeep, they said, well, the color of it, and it was sideways, we simply missed it. Okay, so even in this small area, you're talking about square miles. And in searching for missing people, they often find the person right where people were searching. It's no big deal that truck was there and not spotted. When they're running around here, well, that's where he was last seen. Well, he wasn't. He was last seen over in Wagner Wash. That's no big deal. It's preposterous to say that right during a search, hundreds of people out there, right during a search, the evildoers truck in the vehicle from the point of the attack and possible murder, and they truck it in, uses a crane, and put that truck there. It's ridiculous. The private investigator is simply wrong, plain and simple. Okay, so I put, the odds are they're at least better than just randomly going all over the goddamn place. The odds are he's going to be in here, and that's a lot of square miles. Now let's look at this distance. That if he starts walking out into the desert, he's gradually going to be going downhill, not uphill. Well, this is, let's say, 6 miles. That's easily walkable. Easily walkable, especially at night. With a full moon, you can keep walking along and stuff like that. Also, they said the monastery, not walkable. It most certainly is. It's 10 miles. And so people are often found in the desert far, far from where they think. A person can walk downhill, follow a wash. You can go for miles if you're not burning up in the desert in the sun. So there's a lot of goddamn area out there that I think where he's going to be found. You do have the limit that he didn't take no water with him. He was hiking in his socks. The people tend to follow the washes. So Wagner Wash should be a top contender. You walk along, sleep in the gravel, do whatever. You don't expend any real water. You've got shade like these bushes here, stuff like that. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. That otherwise they've got nothing. They've got nothing to go on. Well, this is better than nothing. So if they didn't spot the vehicle here, right where it would be expected that he was, and instead they were running around over here at the drill site, even though he had been spotted by this person of mystery in Wagner Wash, they don't spot the vehicle here. Well, then how in the hell are you going to find a body out here, 12, 15, whatever it is, square miles? He could be any place. But from experience, people do not tend to go uphill unless they're going uphill to go to a high spot to like kill themselves, shoot themselves. That's different. That if a person is walking along, that you won't know it, but I absolutely assure you that you are going to be going downhill imperceptibly. That they wouldn't go sideways or go uphill. But this area from here to here, most certainly. This entire distance. From there to there is 6 miles. Anybody could do that in record time, especially going downhill or following the washes. But my big bitch is that Daniel Robinson and the others, they withhold the information. Where was the sock found? If it was here, well, that shows it was 3 miles. And how do they know it was his? Where was it found? It could be over here. But if it was here and they know it and they won't say it, how do they know it was him, his sock? How do they know that that was his sock? It could be any sock. But that would point in a direction. Okay, if it was here, well, that shows where the goddamn hell he was going. But David Robinson, the father, the whole organization of the search for Daniel Robinson, they will not say what's been searched. And they're not forthcoming with information, just like in all missing person cases. Why not say what's so-called been searched? Okay, if this has been searched right here, well, that's first place I would go. They always find them right where it had been searched with their cadaver dogs and everything else. Well, that's first place I would go. I don't think he's that far. But he sure as hell didn't go uphill. The highway over here sort of blocks him. Why would he do that? The canal blocks him. Well, what's the area to look? What? He went back to the job site, headed right back, even though he wanted to go out into the desert and end his life. And also, these missing people, they always finish up that they were searching online, getting into the paranormal. They were having life struggles. The sister said he'd been acting strangely. Everyone said he was acting strangely. So they always act strangely. And then they turn up missing in the desert and nobody, well, he must have been attacked. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, and actually they've got nothing else to go on. See this area here? Suppose they've searched it. They won't say. They won't say where they have searched and where they have not. Same as always. Even then, suppose they have searched it. Well, that would be right where I go. Right where they say they have searched. Just like they find them all 20 feet off the trail. Cadaver dogs, horse teams, drones, and what? They always show up very close. But from here to here, if he was depressed, suicidal, disillusioned with his life, you goddamn well, anybody can go from here, even barefoot, from here to here, 6 miles. That's nothing. So the father, the search team, or whoever's behind it, why not just say what's been searched or not, so we know where to go? If this has been searched, well, then we know that's where to go. Exactly what's been searched. He could be here, under the tree for shade. Okay, well, that's been searched. Well, this is exactly where to go. That's where he'll be. Spots like that supposedly have been searched.